Welcome to today's Explainer. So today we're exploring something that is just universally human, totally frustrating, and honestly kind of hilarious. We are looking at exactly why our brains overthink conversations. We're going to be using some absolutely brilliant concepts from a highly relatable Stickman animation script to map out exactly why our brains insist on turning everyday, boring interactions into these high-stakes cinematic showdowns.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever won an argument against someone who wasn't even there? I mean, be honest. You're alone in your room, you're pointing aggressively at a wall, and you are just delivering the most spectacular, crushing monologue of your entire life. The acoustics in the room are great, your delivery is flawless, and your imaginary opponent, completely speechless. And I mean, of course they are, right? They don't exist. But in that moment, you won. We all do this. We all have this secret, dramatic life happening entirely within the confines of our own skulls. And the funny thing is, it almost always starts with something incredibly minor.
Okay, let's dive into this. Every epic imaginary saga has an inciting incident, and it's almost never a massive betrayal or some huge screaming match. No, it is always something unbelievably small, like just a passing, slightly annoying comment from a coworker, like, "Oh, you should probably relax." To your conscious mind, it's nothing, but to your brain's primal threat detection system, oh, it's an unsolved problem. In the moment, you don't fight back. You just kind of nod, mumble, "Yeah, maybe." And the person walks away. The interaction is officially over. But as you're going to see, for your brain, the show is quite literally just getting started.
So at 1 p.m., the annoying comment happens. At 4 p.m., you're just peacefully eating your dinner. The day is moving forward. And then, at 4:01 p.m., your brain completely freezes. Suddenly you gasp, "Oh, I know exactly what I should have said." For some entirely unhelpful reason, human brains do not hand us the perfect comeback when the person is actually standing right in front of us. No, they wait. They wait 3 whole hours until we are completely alone, just minding our own business, to suddenly deliver the most devastatingly clever response ever conceived.
It's wild because in real life, your reaction was just a quiet, awkward, "Oh, okay." But inside your head, completely different story. Inside your imagination, you are unbelievably confident. You're stepping up, you're raising a finger, and you are declaring, "First of all, let me explain why you are completely wrong." The contrast is just staggering. We transform from this passive participant in reality to an absolute master debater in our own mental theater. And all of this is orchestrated by a very specific part of our psyche.
Enter what the source material brilliantly calls the brain stickman. You can think of this as the internal director of your overthinking. This part of your brain is dramatic, it is highly theatrical, and it absolutely loves unnecessary conflict. You might try to tell yourself, "Hey, that conversation was yesterday, it's over." But the brain stickman pops right up and says, "Yeah, but did you win?" It just refuses to let things go. And why? Well, because it's trying to protect your ego. It constantly brings back old conversations and manufactures these imaginary future arguments just to ensure you are never, ever caught off guard again.
And once the brain takes over, the rehearsals just begin everywhere. You're in the shower, the water is running, and you're literally yelling at the shampoo bottle, "Let me finish." Or you're walking past a mirror, you stop, point at your own reflection, and sternly whisper, "No." You listen. You're standing at the sink doing the dishes, furiously scrubbing a plate, muttering, "Interesting opinion." It is an exhausting, nonstop tour of imaginary confrontations happening in the absolute least confrontational places possible. And of course, the brain does not respect business hours. It is 2:47 in the morning, you're trying to get a good night's rest, you're drifting off, and suddenly your eyes just snap open. Wait, that imaginary point they made in my head was actually kind of good. I need a counter-argument. So you reach for your phone in the pitch black, totally burning your retinas, just to type down what feels like absolutely crucial, important argument material for a debate that literally does not exist outside of your bedroom. And because of all this midnight rehearsing, the scale of the argument gets completely out of control. What started as a tiny disagreement over something trivial, like let's say someone mentioning they don't like pineapple on pizza, snowballs into a massive, high-stakes courtroom drama. In your head, you aren't just disagreeing anymore, you are standing before a judge and jury. Your internal lawyer slams a folder onto a mahogany table and shouts, "Exhibit A," and it's literally just a slice of pizza. We take a tiny passing thought, and through the sheer power of overthinking, we accidentally produce a blockbuster movie. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this preparation isn't just for the past, it's for the future, too.
Let's say you have to see this person again tomorrow. You start mapping out scenarios, right? Step 1, normal conversation. Okay, easy. Step 2, the conversation escalates into an argument. Fine, you're ready for that. But the brain doesn't stop there. It keeps escalating the what ifs. What if they get weirdly aggressive? What if a literal courtroom debate breaks out? By step 3, you are literally factoring in an alien invasion. And why are aliens involved? Because the brain insists we have to be prepared for every single mathematical possibility, no matter how completely absurd.
All of this builds up to the ultimate rehearsal, the mirror speech. You stand in front of the glass. The imaginary music is swelling in the background. The camera in your mind is dynamically rotating around you. You tried a few openings, I think there's been a misunderstanding, or look, I've been meaning to say something. But eventually it peaks. You point squarely at your own reflection, chest puffed out, and deliver the final devastating blow. And that's why I refuse to be silent anymore. You pause. And in your head, your reflection actually starts clapping. I mean, it is peak cinematic intensity. So the result of all these mental gymnastics? The ultimate confidence boost. You have rehearsed every possible outcome. You know exactly what to say. In your mind, you are walking into this real-life interaction in glorious slow motion. The wind is blowing through your hair, an epic soundtrack is playing. Your internal brain is hyping you up, saying, you are ready. You have trained for this. You are an absolute warrior, stepping onto the battlefield of social interaction, completely armed with the perfect rhetorical weapons. And then, the real conversation actually happens. You've spent hours preparing for an epic war. The music is peaking in your head. The person approaches. They open their mouth. Your brain screams, "This is it! Begin!" And the person just looks at you and says, "Hey, about yesterday? Sorry if that came out wrong." Silence. Yeah. All of that preparation, all of those intense shower arguments, the midnight notes, the grand courtroom dramas, the epic mirror speeches, the other person had already let it go and just decided to apologize. So your grand, devastating, carefully constructed counterattack dissolves instantly into this horribly anticlimactic reality. You just stand there, blank, and quietly say, "That's okay." The giant stack of rhetorical papers in your brain just drops to the floor. It is a completely crushing anticlimax. The war is over before a single shot was even fired.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why our brains overthink. They treat social awkwardness like an unsolved puzzle. You think it's over, right? You survive the day. The conflict was resolved peacefully. You go to bed that night, close your eyes, and enjoy the beautiful silence. But then, your brain appears in the dark. It whispers, "Hey, remember that argument from 2019? You beg it to stop, but the brain says, "Good news. I just thought of exactly what you should have said." And just like that, the cycle resets. You are dragged right back into the imaginary courtroom for a case that was officially closed years ago. Which brings us to the ultimate scoreboard of our lives. 47. Now that is a solid, impressive track record. 47 completely imaginary arguments won flawlessly inside your own head. Undefeated. A masterclass in debate, logic, and slow-motion cinematic comebacks, you are practically a rhetorical genius when you're in the shower. Compared to just two arguments that actually happened in real life, where you probably just mumbled, got flustered, and agreed to something you didn't even want to. It is truly the most jarring, hilarious contrast of the human experience. So what does this all mean? We really have to ask ourselves, why do our brains prepare for epic courtroom battles when a simple okay will almost always do the trick? Well, it's actually a fascinating evolutionary quirk. Our brains are basically hardwired to protect us from threats, and today, those threats are social rather than physical. Overthinking is just an overactive defense mechanism trying to protect our ego in a world where, most of the time, nobody is actually out to get us. So next time you catch yourself pointing at the shower wall, remember the scoreboard, take a deep breath, and realize the trial is already over. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a little peace of mind next time your brain tries to pick a fight with the bathroom mirror.